Alrighty, I am joining a bit early to test my audio and mic. So, little pre-test. Gonna avoid any audio issues and be proactive. All right, sounds great. There we go. Okay. Getting set up and wait for folks to trickle in. Sit back, relax, grab your coffee, and prepare for 2 hours of me. If you can withstand that. Okay. Finally got the mic working. Very excited about that. Got my amp set up. I can do some electric demos today. And just in case, I'm monitoring my own stream on a laptop. So if there are any audio or video issues, I'll be able to fix them this time. Very exciting. Guitars are tuned up, and Georgie's in the background, as you can see. He will be participating, answering a few questions for you guys. And one kind of minor change I made from last time is I've arrayed my guitars not behind me as a prop so you guys can admire them. I've got my guitars next to me, which will mean I can much more easily pick them up, plug them in, angle the mic towards the amp, and do a real guitar demo with some higher quality. So there's a learning curve to everything, and the first live stream was incredible. I think we had 400 questions in 2 hours. Folks from South America, Asia, Australia, Europe, North Carolina. But yeah, it was just much more than I expected. So I enjoyed it so much. I'm going to do it again. Maybe do something a bit quarterly, once every quarter or so. Maybe once a month. I don't know. Playing this by ear, but I love the first one so much. I'm going to keep it up. So it is still 5 minutes before 2, so I can do a little kind of pre-show. What would I do for a pre-show? I'll wait till 2 to do anything significant, but I'll just do a bit of jamming on the J-160 until some folks show up. So any requests for an open jam on the J-160? I am looking at the comments. If you guys wanted me to do a quick jam, I'll pick one. You guys took too long. There is, by the way, I noticed during my test, there's a 30-second lag between what I say and when it pops up. So, we'll call this the sound demo portion of the live chat. So I'm going to put the mic down here. If you guys hear it too loudly, let me know. If it's too quiet, let me know. But I'm going to play a segment of a couple Beatles songs for a couple minutes. So enjoy the pre-show. Ugh. All right, I see. Is that George says there's good volume. So I assume that sounded great. Not too loud, not too quiet, guys. Pretty good. Sounds coming through great. Oh, that's amazing to hear. I'm going to do one more acoustic demo, and then I can benefit from the 30-second lag. So after I finish playing, I'm going to listen to the actual stream and see exactly how the guitar sounds. So another acoustic song with the capo on the 5th fret. Oh, I know a good one. Okay. Listen to it now real quick. All right. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. That's amazing to me because to me, in my ears, it sounds almost overdriven and too loud. But to you guys, it sounds perfect. It's actually even a little bit quiet, but you could always turn the volume up on your speakers and get that where you want it to be. All right, we'll continue. We'll do 2 more sound demos, and I'll do the amp on the last one, but because I am a nice guy, I see somebody's requested Michelle. I'm still warming up, so you're going to hear a couple boo-boos, but that's okay. We're all human, but I will humor one finger-picking song right now on the 5th fret, so we'll do this one next. Okay. It's been a while. Start over. There we go. There's a sloppily played version of Paul's Michelle part. Hey, questions are coming in. I'm continuing. It's 2 o'clock, so I'm going to do my intro in a second. But for the folks just joining now, I've started out early with a bit of a sound check, Q&A with the folks to make sure everything sounds okay. So the acoustic sounds good. What I'm going to do now, I'll do the J160. I'll plug in the J160 and mic up the amp, and you guys can let me know A, how it sounds, and B, if it's too loud, overdriven, or conversely, too quiet. So there'll be some transition time as I plug stuff in, turn the amp on, move the mic, but I think the outcome will be entirely worth it. So this is my 27 J160 plugged in through a Vox Mini that I have strategically positioned right here on my desk, so I can angle the mic directly on the amp. Let me make sure the amp sounds okay. Okay, I'm going to move the mic, and you guys can let me know how loud this is and if it sounds okay. All right, I think that was a success. Sounded good in my ears, and I'm getting some good comments that it sounds clean. This is fantastic. This is how Q&A1 should have sounded. And I certainly take responsibility, although YouTube is at blame too, because YouTube's live stream service selected the camera mic automatically, and there was no way to toggle during the live stream between microphones. So, damn you, YouTube, but the problem's been fixed. All right, so I guess we can formally get a little bit started. It is, I'll turn the amp down. Oh. It is 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here on the East Coast of the United States, and I'm Mike Sokil. You guys might know me from the podcast Gear There and Everywhere. I'm going to move the mic so you can see my beautiful face. I am also one of the original YouTube Beatles cover guys, MJ Soaks. I've been around the block for a long time. I joined YouTube in 2008-ish and began uploading short dinky videos on how to play guitar like John Lennon, how to play guitar like George Harrison, a couple covers here and there in my trusty Rickenbacker 320. And it popped off just because the market for Beatles YouTube stuff was so small. And I gained a bit of a following and continued the channel till about 2013 or 14. Decided it was time to get my career in order and that the music thing probably wasn't going to pan out to anything that I could do as a full-time career. So did a very immature thing and deleted the channel. Then during the COVID pandemic in 2020, I had a bunch of disposable income and a lot of time at home, and decided why not kind of beef up my guitar and instrument collection and get back in the groove. And that's what I've been doing ever since. I've put out on my own YouTube channel, which has the name of Michael Sokil, which is my government name, my full name, a successive series of Beatles instrument covers, guitar, bass, drums, and piano, and any other supplemental parts there are. And I guess my goal in the whole process is to go all out, to get the correct instrument, either a reissue or in my drums, the vintage actual Ludwig set. I don't have vintage mics, but I think that might actually help me in my niche to make sure that my sounds are modern. The best comments I get are like, oh, this is what the Beatles would have sounded like if they had 2025 recording technology. So that's kind of my niche on YouTube. I like the following I've developed because it's manageable but also significant. I did not like the early days where I put up a video and immediately get a ton of comments and have a Facebook fan page with a bunch of mostly good people, but some creeps. But I prefer how things are now. So yeah, there are lots of Beatles content creators out there that are fantastic, guitarists, analysts. You know, everyone has their niche, and I'm very comfortable in mine. And it's been great to meet a bunch of folks. I now have the podcast Gear There and Everywhere. I am a co-host and part-time editor for the podcast, and I've met some incredible folks, Sam Popkin, Dom Rossi, Ryan Martin, and Paul Alari, and all of our guests have been just tremendous. So that's who I am and what I do. And kind of today, the first live stream was kind of a general Q&A, but due to some audio issues, I wasn't really able to demonstrate the gear as much as I could have. So I would like this one to be laid back. I had the questions open here as they trickle in. I will go through them. But because we had the benefit of good sound this time, I would love to do a quick demo of each guitar, and so you guys can see what these actually sound like. I know a lot of people, as I did, kind of mythologize these Beatles guitars, especially the actual like Gibson J-160, the Epiphone John Lennon reissue Casino, the C-Series Rickenbacker 12. These are incredible Beatle guitars, but it's nice to hear them actually played, even through a dinky Vox Mini amp, to get a sense for what they can do and what they really sound like, and not just on Beatles stuff. So I'm happy to go through each guitar and even a couple basses and just kind of demonstrate what these guitars are actually like. And I'm going to move the comments closer to me so I can read them better. If there are any specific requests for things to be played on these guitars, I'm more than happy to do it. I know last time, 3 weeks ago, we had a couple of requests for some interesting solos on the Rickenbacker 12. I played Happiness is a Warm Gun, Long Tall Sally, Roll Over Beethoven, and it was scary because I haven't done that before, but it turned out really fun. So if there are any requests for some unusual solos or riffs on a different guitar than normal, I'm happy to do that too. And before I start taking questions or demoing guitars, you'll notice my new, I'm reversed here. The new Rocky guitar is in the back, lighting up the background of this live stream. The reason why it's not here with my guitars that I will play today is that it is not really playable at this point. It is not a bad guitar. It's a Squier Strat. It does not stay in tune. That's the big drawback. It does not stay in tune. It might be good for leads, however, so I think my compromise will be to set it up for slide and to really get into slide playing, to get some heavy gauge strings, bump the action up, and pretend I'm Sam Popkin or George Harrison and get better at slide stuff. But it looks damn beautiful. Look at that thing. I think it might even pop better than the actual Rocky. I think it's like magenta pops, and I've been taking shots of it for our Rocky podcast episode, which is coming up soon, and it just looks phenomenal. Looks phenomenal. All right, so I'm going to do a quick guitar tour, and then once I do, I'm going to scroll back into the questions after each guitar. So we're going to start with the J-160. If there are any questions about the J-160 or requests for songs to play on it, put them in now, and we'll do this guitar to guitar. So just for a quick overview, this is the Gibson 2017 custom shop reissue of the Gibson J-160 as I bang it against every damn surface. It is a beautiful guitar. It plays extremely well. And you can kind of see me in the shadows. It's super creepy. But this is kind of a magical guitar to me because it is so unique, and no one besides the Beatles really popularized these things. They are Beatles guitars almost exclusively. And as kind of a little anecdote, I ran last night. I went for a run in Philly, and I was listening to some of the outtakes of like the Revolver remix, the Pepper remix, the White Album remix. And there's an outtake of Love You Too, the Harrison song Love You Too on Revolver, where he's just playing an E and a D chord. And I was like, that is the classic J-160 sound. It is not a full, bright acoustic sound. It's not quite dead either. It's very strange. So I'll do a quick little demonstration of that. It's just like a very strange, like slinky, thin-ish acoustic sound. It's not like any other acoustic guitar you may ever hear. I love it. It is so Beatle-y, and when you hear it plugged in, it sounds exactly like early Beatles, Please Please Me with the Beatles. All those great. I Feel Fine. I don't have an amp big enough to get the feedback, but maybe one live stream I'll do the I Feel Fine feedback. But it is one of my favorite Beatle guitars, and just to show off, I did this last time, but look at those strings wrapped around the tuning pegs. That is very Lennon-esque. Oh, one thing I didn't know, I had never owned a J-160. I had played one at a guitar show, but I did not know that the Gibson logo is kind of pearl or like luminescent. I thought it was just white. But look at that, it sparkles. And then you can see, I'm going to flip it over. I may ding it again, but on the back, there's that Gibson Custom Shop logo. If I can get it close enough. There it is. Gibson Custom Shop. But yeah, this is it's funny, it's not my number one acoustic guitar. If I were to play acoustic, I play my Gibson G45, the cheapo Gibson acoustic. It's like my McCartney substitute, but this is still, like, you know it's a J-160 when you start to play it. It's like, ooh, yeah, there's the sound. All right, so I'm going to scroll through the comments and see if there's J-160 requests. How much would I say the J-160 is worth? So I bought this one from a a Guitar Center in Los Angeles. They put it on Reverb. They were asking $2,800, and I negotiated to $2,500. So again, this is the 2017 Custom Shop reissue. I think that this was a very kind of short run reissue by Gibson to get its spec as close as they could to the John Lennon guitar. It is so rare, and you cannot find any information online now from Gibson about this reissue. I have looked, nothing on the Gibson website, very little ways to find the specs. The only way I can find them is on Reverb when someone sells one of these and puts the specs on their selling page, the sell page. But yeah, it's got the laminated top, the ladder bracing, and it does not have the ceramic bridge. I know Paul Alari wants me to get the ceramic bridge, but it still sounds a lot like the Beetle J160. Here, hold on. All right, so that is an overview of the Gibson J160. Back to the questions. Who is the dog in the back? That's George. I said J160 questions, guys. Come on. We'll get to everything else in a second. Play Long, Long, Long. Oh, geez. Is there a capo on Long, Long, Long? There is, right? There's a capo. I've never played this song. I think it's a capo 3, maybe. Let me try this out. This is not going to sound good. I've never played Long, Long, Long before. For the, ordinary level Beatles fans and not obsessive, this is a Harrison track from the White Album called Long, 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 and I am not going to play it right. You get the vibe of it. I don't want to play it more until I know exactly how to play it, but that's the vibe of Long, Long, Long. More like bad, bad, bad. Okay. Thank you for the compliments on the guitar. It is beautiful. I only wish that they had made the sunburst a little bit more yellow, because I think it's a little bit too red. It doesn't quite look like the Harrison Lennon sunburst. It's close, and it looks beautiful, but I would have wished they used a little bit more yellow. Have I ever played the Epiphone J160? I have, and they're damn near identical. It's got the P90 pickup, so you can get all the I Feel Fine electrified J160E sounds. It's as playable as the Gibson. The only thing that I really noticed is the neck. The neck on the Gibson is chunkier and a bit more playable, and you can definitely get more sustain and an easier time playing some of the higher notes too. They're more responsive to picking. I'll do a quick finger picking demo up here just because why the hell not? Oh, while we're capoing, can anyone guess what is the Beatles song with the capo on the highest fret? I know there's a 30-second lag, so I'll give you guys 30 seconds. What is the Beatles song with the capo on the highest fret? And I think I'm right about this. If I'm wrong, correct me, but I'll give you guys a few seconds to chime in. The Beatles song with the capo. Yes, we have a winner. George, it is Girl on the 8th fret. And obviously John Lennon had small hands because playing those chords, not easy. I'll do a quick demo here. It's an awesome acoustic song that I would love to cover once I have time to cover. A lot of guesses on Girl. Good job, guys. Got some real Beatles fans here. All right, play the Love version of While My Guitar Gently Weeps. It's been a long time since I played that, but I have at least played this one before. So the Love, this is the demo of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which George played capo 5th fret in D minor, even though he played the album track with no capo in A minor. So it's been a while, but wish me luck. Not bad for an old fart, right? Someone who hadn't practiced that one. All right. Any other J-160 requests before I go to my next guitar? For the pickup on the J-160, I would just get this one, the P90. If you really want to do the early Beatles stuff, the Ask Me Why, there's a place, Please Please Me itself. Get the P90 because you can't get that like woody, almost regal sounding electric sound without it. I'll play a little bit of electric now too, just so everyone knows what I'm talking about. So here's the electrified J-160. Oh, before I do it, any requests for what song to play with the electrified J-160? Stand by. Okay. So I Feel Fine won't sound as good because this amp is a Vox Mini and not an AC100. I can try, but it's not going to sound quite like the record. Alrighty, so that was I Feel Fine. I've done From Me to You. Sounds great. I'm glad that the sound is better. It seems like we're We're getting better all the time at these live streams, Waka Waka. So I'm going to switch to the next guitar. I'll let you guys pick. The options are Rickenbacker 12 string, Epiphone Casino, Fender Strat, like a rocky Fender Strat, the Sonic Blue, or the Gibson SG. And if you guys don't pick the one I actually want to do, I'll just pick the one I actually want to do. Are there any remaining songs where we aren't quite sure if it's the J-160? Yeah, here's the thing about our podcast. We try to guess exactly what guitars were used, but it's all speculative. And until you can really get a vintage version of that guitar, vintage strings, vintage amp, you really don't know. And even then, it's just an educated guess unless you have a picture or a note that says, John absolutely used that guitar. It's all guesswork. And one of the best examples lately is the Help descending riff. I am doing an edit of our Rocky episode, and we had originally decided it's absolutely the Gretsch Tennessean doing that riff. But Beatles vocal harmony, Galeazzo Fredua, released a video where he demonstrates a theory of his that the riff is played with the track slowed down, and it's the Fender Stratocaster just doing the down picking. I thought he was crazy, and then I listened to it more while I'm doing this edit. I think the dude's right. I think Rocky is playing the descending riff on Help. So we don't quite know all the details about the guitars we think the Beatles used. All right, I see votes for Rick 12, which is the one I wanted to do anyway, so pardon me while I switch guitars. Alrighty, so this is my 2018 Rickenbacker 12 C63. I would say this is the cream of the crop when it comes to my guitars. Gonna let the autofocus take over here. Look at that. Look at that. That is beautiful. One of the very interesting things I did not know, because I'm not a perfect Beatles nerd, is that the headstock on George's actual 12 is extended beyond what you see here. His headstock was like way the hell up here, and it looked kind of wonky. So Rickenbacker actually did a solid here by making it look more normal. But yeah, it is just beautiful. Looks exactly like George's. One of the things you don't quite expect before you buy it is how red the neck is. It is crazy bright red. The inlay dots are red. Everything is very red. I've never had a bright red guitar. Like bright red, it pops. And obviously for the Beatle historians, George was gifted this guitar at the Plaza Hotel by John Hall. No, I'm sorry, F.C. Hall, the Rickenbacker guy. John was his son. And George received it as he was feeling ill while the other three Beatles went out and took a photo shoot in Central Park. But George fiddled with the 12 string. I think it was intended for John, and fell in love with it right away. And you could hear it on the opening chord of A Hard Day's Night. You can hear it on I Should Have Known Better, Anytime at All, If I Fell, You Can't Do That, I Call Your Name, 8 Days a Week. There's some 12 string on Matchbox, but that might be John's. And then Ticket to Ride. I think George said that was the last one with this 12 string. And then he was gifted a second Rick 12 for If I Needed Someone. And then there is a 12 string on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, but that is not, I believe, the Rick. It's, I think, a Guild, a 12 string. So any questions on the Rick 12 or requests for riffs on the Rick 12? The Wick 12. Every Little Thing. Do I remember how to play that? All right, so the interesting thing about Every Little Thing is that it is a rare Beatles 12-string part where the bridge pickup was not selected. George clearly picked the middle selector. The reason you know that, you can hear it when I'm about to demo it. The bridge pickup is extremely bright. Extremely bright. I only really hear that on a couple Beatles riffs. The middle position is like a slightly sedated version of that brightness. It's just a little bit more mid-rangey and a little darker. And then obviously the neck pickup sounds like any neck pickup on any guitar. But yeah, I'll do Every Little Thing. It's a short intro riff, but I'll do it for you now. I'll turn the amp up a little bit. So that's the middle pickup. I'll show you what it's like on the bridge, and it's way too bright. It still sounds like $1,000,000, but just not like the album. A Hard Day's Night. So I can do the opening chord and some of the verse, but the chord's going to sound a bit empty without the piano bass cymbal hit, or the snare hit, and the acoustic. But we have, as a consensus amongst our group, and I think the Beatles community, that it's simply an F with a G on top. And then the only controversy I think there is there might be an F on the bass, because there is a little flavor that F octave gives to the chord where it kind of rings out in a very unique flavor. And I'll do both back to back. I'll do just the F with the G on top, then I'll add that little F at the bottom, and you guys can decide, okay? This is number two. Number one. Number two. I'd like to know what kind of votes you guys have on that. I think the second one, at least right away, doesn't quite sound like it, but when you hear the overtones sneak in, that is, to me, dead on. It really does make you feel like it's the right chord. All right, any other? I should have known better. The most difficult guitar solo of all time. Yes, I can do that. This might be really tough. Not sure if I can handle this, so send your thoughts and prayers, please. Oh, Christ. I may never recover from the difficulty of that riff. I have shot my wad. Alrighty. A lot of nice... oh, Fish on the Sand. Let's see. Fish on the Sand is a George Harrison solo track from, I believe, Cloud 9. And Cloud 9 is a great album because George Harrison finally became nostalgic for the Beatles sound, either through, financial reasons or because he actually felt nostalgic. But he broke out his actual Rick 12, I'll show it off again, for a couple tracks on Cloud 9, including Fish on the Sand. Now, I don't know the entire song, but I do know that main riff. I also love the Devil's Radio riff because I think it's just the E string played successively faster. So I'll try the Devil's Radio intro too. That's a fun one. Hopefully that didn't break anybody's ears. All right, gonna look for more 12-string songs. And I Love Her anthology version. Okay, so that's a little bit higher up. I think that was the one they did with the capos, right? The anthology version of And I Love Her. No, I'm thinking of Can't Buy Me Love. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of a different song. So there are guitar overdubs of the 12-string. Not overdubs, but there's a part on the 12-string on the Anthology 1 outtake of And I Love Her. So I'll do that real quick. I think that's middle pickup, so not quite as bright. Maybe it's darker. I didn't quite get that because now that I'm remembering, I think that riff up here is like kind of choppy, right? Oh, come on. Good stuff. All right, I see what you're doing, so I'm going to do what you're doing right now. Been a while. So I should have practiced that one, but still got the vibe right? I'm seeing some Anthology 2 And Your Bird Can Sing requests. Was that an E? Yeah, that was an E. Yeah, no capo. This is tricky for me because it involves a little bit of picking down here, and my hands are just ridiculously big. So if I flub up a chord there, just let it go. But yeah, this is a great 12-string sound. I see someone being very persistent about you can't do that, and I will do you can't do that, but before I do it, I'm going to play another British Invasion 12-string riff, and I want to see if anyone can guess this. It's a little bit obscure, so let's hit it. Guess we have no Jerry in the pace. There we go. Okay, David. Oh, that's my David. David Montes. Ferry Across the Mercy. There we go. Bonus points for David. Very nice. I thought I'd be playing that riff for an hour until somebody got it. Jerry and the Pacemakers. It's one of my favorite 12-string riffs to play because it's kind of unique. Okay. Gonna have some caffeine. One moment. All right, so I'm gonna do You Can't Do That. Any last requests for 12-string songs? Make them now, because I'll switch to the next guitar in just a sec. But this is gonna be You Can't Do That. Now, I don't think it was bridge pickup because that's a very bright 12-string sound. I can demo it there, but I think it was middle pickup with a bit of treble kind of screwed in with these little odd knobs here. So I'll do it both ways, and you guys can tell me which sounds closer. Okay. This is the bridge pickup. That was bridge. This will be middle, okay? Yeah, I think it's the middle pickup with a bit of treble thrown in. It's a little thicker. Yeah, I agree, George. Both pickups do sound closer. All right, I know I said I was going to move on, but I see a couple other riffs that I like. So somebody wants the While My Guitar Gently Weeps 12-string part. So for the lay Beatles fan, there is indeed an electric 12-string guitar on While My Guitar Gently Weeps in the White Album days. Very unlikely to be a Rickenbacker. I think the Rickenbacker 12s were retired by 1968. But there is certainly a riff. And by the way, Giles Martin, you buried the riff and took it out of the remix of the White Album. So shame on you, sir. But it is in, you can hear it on the 2009 mix on like Apple Music or Spotify. So this is the famous riff in While My Guitar Gently Weeps as played on the 12-string. Fell out of tune for a moment, but that's it. That's the riff, and it's kind of buried, but it adds a nice little flavor to the backing track. I actually very much like that part. All right, there was one more riff. Oh, I saw somebody say I Call Your Name. I'll make this my last 12-string riff. The I Call Your Name intro and solo. I think I can still do that. Nice recovery, Mike. Yeah, I completely forgot the middle part of that, but got it back on track. All right, I am retiring the Rickenbacker 12 string, and let's see. We'll go to the casino. Gonna do some overdriven stuff if I can. Go to the casino. Alrighty, so while I get this third guitar kind of prepared and the questions trickle in, I'm going to go back and answer some of the earlier questions that might have come in as I was showing off my quasi-decent guitar skills. So I'm going to go back up and see what I might have missed, and I'll bust through these as quickly as I can while still giving some complete answers. Hello, guys. Hey, Jacob. Hey, Nathan. Hey, Beetle Lad. Hey, Pedro. Hey, George. Hey, Simon. What was the hardest or most frustrating guitar tone to achieve for your cover? So I've not yet gotten the guitar tone for And Your Bird Can Sing. I've wanted to cover it hundreds of times, but until I get that rhythm guitar and the lead guitar tone as close as I can possibly get it, I'm not even going to bother. So yeah, I think there's a new Acclam pedal that came out called the Rocky that I might try, because I do have their last pedal, the Dr. Robert one, or one of their last pedals. And it got me the crunch. It got me a pretty close approximation of how And Your Bird Can Sing sounded. But it's nowhere close enough for me, because I am a OCD perfectionist. So that is the guitar tone I've had a very hard time achieving. And I think the rhythm guitar would be a 6120. The Gretsch Orange 6120 that John Lennon used in the Revolver session. So I'll need one of those too. But yeah, that answers that question. Greetings from Chile. Hello. Do you use the Rico sound input on the 4003? I do not. I use the ordinary input on the Rickenbacker bass, the 4003. You know what? I'm going to break out the bass. Give you guys something new. Bye, casino. Good riddance. What if I just threw it off right now? Some guitar destruction for the live stream. All right. So this is my Rickenbacker 4003 bass. Let me try to get you guys the best view of it. This is a 2018 4003 Rickenbacker bass. It is a modern Rickenbacker bass. It is not one of the C series or V series McCartney basses. I have always thought these basses looked beautiful in black. I owned one of these before in high school, but it was blonde. But I always wanted a black one. The only mod I made were the knobs. I gave it the traditional old school Rickenbacker knobs. Get that close up. Oh, God. So yes, this is the Rickenbacker bass. Paul used it from 1965 all the way through Abbey Road. And it gets some amazing tones. I won't be able to get perfect tones if I play it through my Vox Mini here, but I did demo it. You can hear some elements of what makes this bass so special. So I'm going to just do a quick demo of what this bass sounds like. But to answer that question, I don't use... Let me show it off. There are two inputs on this thing. There's standard input and one called the Rico sound. If I can get real close, you might even be able to read it. Let's see how close I can get. Come on, autofocus. There we go. Standard is on your left, and the Rico sound is on the right. And the idea was to give players, I believe, the option to hook up to an additional bass amp from the same bass. I have never used it. I would love to know how that would benefit a Beatles guy, but I have seen no need at this time to use it. I use the ordinary input. All right, folks, drop questions on the Rickenbacker bass so I can get to those after I do a quick sound demo. So again, this is not going to give you any of the traditional bass thump or the bass end. This is the guitar amp I'm playing through. So maybe up the volume on your headphones while I do a little quick bass demo. So I have some thoughts. It's a fantastic bass. It can get you every Beatles bass sound you would like. You need to play it through a bass amp because this didn't sound anywhere near what sound this bass is capable of. I think for most Beatles tunes, the pickup selected was the neck pickup. I think Paul liked the bassy sounds. The only, I guess, counter example, I think Paul used the middle pickup on With a Little Help from My Friends. It's a little bit juicier and more mid-rangey, and I'll see if I can do a quick demo now. So that's the Rick bass. And again, it's not going to sound fantastic until you get it through a bass amp and add some compression to it, but that's kind of what it sounds like, barely amped. I'm going to scroll down just to see if they're... You guys are going to really challenge me, I see. You want the Hey Bulldog bass line, which I have not played in months. And still warming up here. And I'd have to activate the mutes, and the mutes aren't going to sound too great on this dinky little guitar amp, but I'm going to do it because I love you guys, and I support you, and I believe in you. All right. You guys are going to... Hopefully this sounds decent. I don't know, but... So first of all, the big tip, if you ever want to have a Rickenbacker bass and sound like the Beatles, the mutes. There are these two screws on either end of the bridge that you can use to tighten the tension on these strings and mute them. And that is the Sgt. Pepper bass sound. It is most of the Revolver bass sound. And it does not sound like the Beatles without the mutes activated. You can certainly deactivate the mutes, which gives the strings a more open sound, but there are not many Beatles songs with the mutes deactivated. Penny Lane is one. And Your Bird Can Sing, the anthology version, is one. I think George has some ideas too he's trying to articulate. All right, I'm going to ease into Hey Bulldog because it's such a good bass line. I know the essence of it, but bear with me if I warm up as I play it. everyone's ears out with that. The amp is pretty compressed. Oh, what else we got? A lot of comments on the Rickenbacker bass. Would I ever get a jazz bass? Sure. I mentioned this in the last live stream. I've got a buddy who's a big bass player, and he's got the Fender Precision bass and the jazz bass, so I would hope to borrow it from him. All right. Any thoughts on the Hey Bulldog playing? You guys can give me some feedback. Yeah, Baby You're a Rich Man is interesting because he's doing that like palm muting. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so I think that's the Rickenbacker bass. Because we're doing the bass, I could do the Hofner bass too, which might be a lot of fun. So I'm going to break out the Hofner bass. Oh, wait, real quick. I haven't yet mentioned the bridge pickup of the Rickenbacker bass because I don't think Paul used it until post-Beatles stuff. There's only one Beatles song where I really hear bridge pickup on the Rick. I'll play the riff now. You guys can tell me what song it is from. The end. Sir Zayden of Napier. Sir Zaydian, you nailed it. Nailed it first. Yep. So that to me, I don't think that's a jazz bass. I think the jazz bass would be a bit chunkier, crunchier. That's more of a like really dead bridge pickup sound of a Rick. And there's one other famous Paul McCartney bass line, one of his best, not a Beatles bass line, that is absolutely bridge pickup on a Rick. And I'll see if I can do it now. The first guess wins a prize of some kind. I'll think of something. I feel like George has guessed before I even play the song. I don't know how you do that so fast. It's pretty amazing. Great guesses. I see like 5 guesses for silly love songs. It's a great bass line too. If you ever want to warm up on the bass, that's a great one. All right, I'm going to switch quick to the Hofner. So give me 1 second. So this is the Hofner Contemporary series. This is probably their mid-range Beatle bass reissue. It is fantastic looking. Boy, does it get that look. Sometimes I just like to stare at it. Gonna do my little machine gun sniper angle. Come on, autofocus. There we go. It is just a beautiful... I mean, you look at it and it looks like Paul McCartney, even though it's right-handed. Got that beautiful brown, reddish sunburst. Got the right pickups. I got the teacup knobs on it. I should paint the switches cream white, but I don't feel like it. And on the back, I've got one of these Sam Popkin patented, not patented, patented Bassman stickers, which Paul put on the front of his bass on the rooftop. Look at that! I've been tempted to take the B off of the sticker for any Seinfeld fans out there. Alrighty, I'll plug this baby in. I promised you guys, once I'm done with the instruments, I will go back and look at all the other types of questions, and I will answer them in order. So don't worry, I have not forgotten those first few questions. So, The best part about the Contemporary series is you can absolutely get the thump that you want from a Hofner bass. It looks great. You put these Labella deep talking Beatle bass flat wound strings on it, and it does sound like a Beatles bass. The only drawback, number one, you have to get the action up very high to get that thump. When I got it back from a professional setup, it played great, but the action was so low, it did not sound like a Hofner bass. It sounded like any other bass. So what I had to do, jack up the action pretty damn high, and then I started to get that Hofner thump. So one of the things that spoiled me about visiting Perry Stanley in his basement studio, he has a vintage 63 Hofner Beatle bass and a reissue 1962 or V62 Hofner bass, and I played his V62, and then I was like, oh, this is what a Hofner bass should play like. He got the thumpiness with the low action, and now I kind of know what Paul experienced, which is, an incredible bass. So this gets the right sound, you just have to have a little discomfort while you do it. So I'm going to do a little demo on the Hofner bass through my amp. If there are any requests or questions, let me know. So first of all, I do see a question, any tone tips for the Hofner? So only use the bass pickup. There are toggle switches here, but I've never used them after I put them to enhance the bass sound. You only want that bassy. You don't need any trebly sound on this bass. Palm mute too. Paul used a lot of palm muting on the Hofner. If you just played the notes openly, it would sound like this. But if you palm mute, it sounds a lot more like Paul. It's a little overdriven here because it's a guitar amp I'm playing, but I hope you guys can still hear that thump. Hope you guys can still see my girlfriend, fiance, interfering with my background. How dare you? I smell a divorce.
We're not married.
I also can't smell. Oh, geez, My Brave Face. I think I can do that one. It's pretty close. Oh, Nowhere Man. I can do Nowhere Man. That was on the Rick. You guys are picking the wrong bass, but I can do Nowhere Man. Here. I got to warm up into it, which I think you guys have figured out. I'm kind of warming up as I play, but I can do Nowhere Man. Here, hold on. Okay, bye. That's pretty good. Haven't played that in 3 years. Um, Don't Let Me Down. I might be able to pull that one out. Maybe not. Good enough. You cranked Vox cranked is too nice for Think for Yourself. Oh, I thought it was distorted. It sounds distorted to me. Okay, I think I'm going to put down the Hofner unless I see something new. Samples for the entire rooftop set. So the Get Back and I've Got a Feeling bass parts are both in A and actually very easy. I'll do a sample of Get Back and a sample of I've Got a Feeling back to back. Get Back is easy. Get Back isn't too interesting. And then I've Got a Feeling. I'm saying Dig a Pony too. This will be my last Hofner song. I'll do Dig a Pony. All right, that's it for the bass. Putting down the bass. Alrighty, I've got the casino plugged in and ready to go, but I'm going to do as promised and go back and answer some previous questions as I hydrate and caffeinate a little bit. You guys are doing fantastic, by the way. This is just as good as the first one. I hope it's better for you guys so you can actually hear what I'm doing. Fiance, what are you doing?
Sorry.
I'm getting robbed. Alrighty. Con, which instrument are you most best at? I think I'm a natural bass player. I learned bass and actually played it semi-professionally. In school, organized bands, orchestra, jazz band. I played the upright bass. I played jazz bass. And to me, somebody with like enormous hands, bass is just easier than guitar. I can still do like intricate riffs in vibrato, but I have to really get the muscle memory down. And that's much more difficult for me on guitar than the bass. So I would say the bass is my best instrument. Play Walrus on the Casino. So Walrus was played on the Strat, Nathan, but I can see this is. I'm gonna make sure it's overdriven enough. All right, this is going to be my attempt at I Am the Walrus on the Casino. I mean, it could be. I don't see why it couldn't be the Casino. When will the new episode of our podcast come out? So I said this 3 weeks ago. The answer is when I finish editing it. Now, an update for you guys. I think when I last connected here on the live stream, I had just finished the introduction and maybe the beginning, and I am now halfway done. We have finished an introduction on the Fender Stratocaster, like a history of the Stratocaster. We've gone through the section where all of us talk about our own Strats, and we each play a Beatles demo, a riff on our Strats. Sam Popkin has a tremendous history of the Stratocaster that's about 10 minutes long or so. That's phenomenal, interspersed with clips, with videos, with audio. That might be my favorite part. I then created a transition of George's expressed disinterest in his current guitar sound, the Gretsch and the Vox. There's a clip of him on YouTube, you guys can find it now, of George Harrison being interviewed about Rocky and discussing kind of how unsatisfied he was with the guitar tone he was getting. Anyway, the audio sucks. If you listen to it, there's tape noise, there's hiss, George is barely audible. What I'm excited about for our episode, I have restored it. I have used a very interesting tool I've discovered that you kind of have to pay for to clean up George's audio. So if you watch that episode when it comes out, probably in 2 or 3 weeks, you will hear George Harrison talk about Rocky clearer than you've ever heard it before. But yeah, at the moment of the episode I'm editing, we're going through the chronology of every single album to pick out the songs we believe Rocky is on. And it starts at Help, and Help is finished. We then go to Rubber Soul. I am currently on Rubber Soul. So I have to do Rubber Soul, I have to do Revolver, and then the big ones are coming. Pepper's the biggest, along with Magical Mystery Tour. Couple songs on the White Album and the Let It Be sessions. Really nothing on Abbey Road. And then we'll do a segment on the solo stuff, maybe the reissues, and then final thoughts. So I've had to edit a 5-hour conversation into a hour long, tight, entertaining episode. The good news is the half hour I've done is phenomenal. You guys are going to love it. But I would guess it comes out in 2 weeks. All right, going back to the questions. How much would I pay for the J-160? I paid $2,500, and I think that was the exact right amount because the reissue I got, the 2017 Gibson Custom Shop, was spec, like identical to the Beatles J-160. Not like there was like a Bozeman, Montana version of the J-160 that was not spec. There are plenty of J-160s that aren't accurate. Some are box-shaped. This is it. Like, this is as close as you can get besides getting the actual 62 jumbo. All right, some more questions. Oh, show your SG. I can do the SG just to show it off. The best part about how I've arranged my guitars is it's going to be very easy to move back and forth. I could even go back to a guitar I've already talked about. So when I was doing Hey Bulldog, which I studied for quite a while, I got the cheapest Gibson SG I could find on Reverb. This was about $700, which is very cheap for a Gibson SG. And it's red-ish, so it kind of looks like George's. It doesn't have the giant-ass tailpiece that George's had here, but it gets the vibe. And it's an interesting guitar because it does have what I've always loved about the SG, which is the insane neck, how you can get good sounds all the way up to whatever, the 20th fret or whatever. So it has that. The only negative thing is that the neck doesn't allow for bends very well, and I'll show you what I mean. I'll have to get the neck either switched out or professionally set up because it's not the exact sound I want. But yeah, I can get a good amount of crunch out of it. I don't know what I'm going to use it on next. Maybe if I do She Said, She Said. Oh, I know what I can do. I can show you guys the right way to play that riff. Here, hold on. So there is a capo on She Said, She Said. And a lot of people play it a certain way. I'm going to show you the right way to play it. Okay, so this is the way most people play She Said, She Said. Loud. Now, if you slow that riff down, you'll notice there are some open strings ringing out in the riff that don't come across when you play it like that. So the way that I've kind of uncovered my way to play it involves those open strings. So I'll play it my way now. If I blew out any of your ears, I'm sorry. I hope that wasn't too loud. But that is how I believe that riff was played, and I will go to the death thinking that. All right, I'm going to scroll down just to see some SG questions because I picked up a new guitar. I'll let you guys. I'll let you trickle in some SG questions. I've seen a request to get Rocky. I'll get Rocky, but ask some SG questions as I get Rocky, okay? Alrighty, Rocky will be next, although Rocky does not stay in tune, but I will play you how it sounds. So the SG, I guess I can use it first to let you guys know that this is a complete tangent, but my favorite Beatles riff, and you guys are going to hate me for this or be surprised, is on Real Love. Real Love, the Beatles' second reunion track from 1996, has a riff in the outro that is magical. In fact, it is so good, I have a theory that Jeff Lynne actually created it because it sounds more like a Jeff Lynne riff than a Beatles riff. But here's the thing, guys. I thought I had been playing it correctly, and I used a particular style in my cover in 2020, and that riff is easily the most popular part of that video. There are comments all over. How did you get that riff? God, that sounds like a sun setting. Well, I listened to in isolation before we interviewed Mr. Bernie Hamburger, the guy who built the guitars George used in the reunion, and I found out I'm not playing that riff right. So I'm going to play it the way I originally played it, and then play it the way that George Harrison actually played it on the album. Okay, here we go. before I proceed, could everyone hear that loud and clear? Does that sound halfway decent? Lovely commenters. Loud and clear. Thank you, Sir Zayden. All right, so that's a beautiful damn riff, right? It sounds like a sun setting. I love that riff. And what kind of dismayed me a bit is I was actually playing it wrong, and I think mine sounds better. So this is how the actual riff is played on the tune, and I'll do it a few times to make sure I get it right. So it's still good, but it's not quite as magical. I'll do mine one more time. I love the way I play it. Of course I messed it up. All right, so that's the SG. Oh, also one more secret for you guys, and this is another tangent, but I have a theory, and this is as mind-blowing, I think, as Galeazzo's Help Descending riff theory, which is that the Hey Bulldog solo is detuned. The high E string is detuned. And I wish I had the isolated clips, but I'll bust through this very fast. So the only way to play the Hey Bulldog solo without changing the tuning and standard tuning is something like this. Oh, I got to put the mic on the amp. Hold on. You can see it's kind of wonky and it sounds, there's not much depth to it. And I actually slowed down the tracks when I was studying the solo. And I heard something really interesting, which is an open string ringing out over that B. And I was like, every way to play that riff does not involve an open string ringing out. Most people play it on one string. You can't have an open string ring out when the riff is played on one string. So I tried this to detune the high E string down to this. And then the way to play the riff is much easier and gets you that open string ringing out over the riff. This would be much easier to illustrate with clips, so I'll make sure to do this at some point soon. But here is what I think the correct way to play the Hey Bulldog solo is. Add some more stank to it. The only qualification there is that when you do the solo, you have to really bring the octave high. If you didn't tune the guitar any differently, the solo is easier to kind of transition to the... But if you detune that string, you have to do the octave up here. But that's not bad after you try it a couple times. So that's my big Beatles conspiracy theory of the day, that the E string on the Hey Bulldog solo was detuned, and I think I'm correct. And I'll make my case at some point in the future. All right, gonna switch to Rocky, and then I'm gonna try to transition to some more just questions, because I think time is moving so damn fast. I have so much fun doing these things. So on to Rocky. Oh God. So I'm going to show off how rocky looks first, because that is the major strength of this guitar, how beautiful it is. Just going to hold it there. Let it waft over you. It is really beautiful. Whoever painted this. Like, you can kind of tell it's not 100% what George did. That sketch of Eric Clapton is nightmare fuel. A little terrifying. But if you look at it, he's got the orange right, he's got the back right with the sonic blue and the other blue. And then if you hold it to have all the colors pop, so you can see the side view with the blue and all, like, look at how damn beautiful that is. Like, wow. Look at that. So that's the strength of this guitar, is how beautiful it is. Now, the drawback is it plays like shit. It does not stay in tune whatsoever. Now, that doesn't mean I've abandoned it as a guitar, because I think it's possible, and I haven't done this yet, to set it up for slide or for some lead work. So I'm going to take the gain down on this, get some clean sounds. Just to give you a sense for what it sounds like. Again, it does not stay in tune, so you're going to have to grade me on a curve here. Oh, too loud, too loud. So for some reason, it's sounding better now than it usually does. But I think I may just set it up for slide or some lead work. While I'm on the Rocky, I wanted to mention some guy asked a fantastic question last time, which is, how did I figure out that the something rhythm guitar part had a capo on it? And I thought I'd talk through that again while I have the guitars actually audible, and I can explain it a bit better. So before I tried a capo, mostly everybody played that rhythm guitar part up here, because it does sound like the C is up here. Oh, I'm going to move the mic over. So there's something really missing there. And I knew that that wasn't quite the way to play it. Mostly because I don't hear that low F. I heard more of a D shape on that. And I remembered that if you listen to the anthology version of George's demo, he's not playing it in C, he's playing it in A. And that sounds something like this. So I was like, man, that chord progression actually sounds a lot like what's on the record. It's just in the wrong key. So some artists and musicians, including many of the Beatles, instead of transposing their song to a different key, would use a capo and just play the same damn chords. Good examples are Nowhere Man, composed in E. John moved the capo up to 2. Norwegian Wood, John played it in D. moved it up to E but played it in D anyway, just with the capo on 2. And I realized that with the capo on 3, you can get the same chord progression, but it sounds much closer to the actual record. So I don't think that was played on Rocky. I think on the album it's probably, I don't know, the Telly with the capo on 3. But that chord progression on the capo on the 3rd fret is much, much, much closer in my opinion. But yeah, that's how the this Rocky sounds like. I think I could probably get a decent lead sound out of it if it ever stayed in tune. But I'd prefer my actual Sonic Blue Strat. All right, I'm going to put the guitars down and just answer questions at this point, but if one question really necessitates a guitar, I'll just grab it again. So, 1 second. Oh, yeah, so many guitars. All right. Okie and a dokie. What do we got? I'm going to go back up near the top. A lot of great questions here. Gear There and Everywhere is great. Thank you. We put a lot of effort into our show, and trust us when we say a lot of good stuff is on the way. We are actually, not to tease anything too much or give too much detail, we have come very close to booking our most famous guest yet. Now, when I say famous, I don't mean famous in the Beatles sphere exactly, but he is a very famous person, and we should be able to have him on the show. Something to look forward to. I will not say who it is, but he is famous. Thank you guys for the folks looking forward to the Rocky episode. I promise I am editing my butt off, and I would hope to do it within 2 weeks, but it may be 3, but it will be no more than 1 more month. But I may put out a teaser for you guys on our Facebook chat group just so you can get a taste of how good it's going to be. Have you thought about doing covers of Leave My Kitten Alone? That Means a Lot, and If You've Got Trouble? Sure. For If You've Got Trouble, I would need a Gretsch Tennessean. So that would be a collaboration with probably Dom or Sam or Ryan. He's got a tenny. Leave My Kitten Alone, that's a great Lennon vocal. I'm a little worried that for Leave My Kitten Alone, you can't do it without John because his vocal is what makes it such a good song. That Means a Lot. Nah, I think it's a boring. That Means a Lot is a good song. I've actually gotten a bit more appreciative of it as I've edited the Rocky episode because there is a Strat on That Means a Lot, but it's still not my favorite. What else we got? Yes, George. Thank you, George. It was the Guild Starfire on the While My Guitar Gently Weeps. That was the 12 string. Okay. What else we got? Can I do a Strawberry Fields full band cover? At some point, we will do a Strawberry Fields full band cover. I think everyone on our team in the podcast is interested in being a part of that. We have a lot of work that we have to do to get our currently filmed episodes out. Once we get the current load off the table, we'll be more open-minded to doing covers and some more outside-the-box stuff like a full band cover. Oh. Did John play the last chord of Any Time at All on the 12 string? I think it sounds like a 6 string, but I don't know why they would overdub an electric guitar playing a riff, or I'm sorry, a chord like that when there is a 12 string there on the record already. They've done that before where they just kind of ended the song with an overdub. I think Roll Over Beethoven, the song ends with an overdub. It doesn't end how the actual take ended. So yeah, I think it was ended on either a 6 string or a 12 string. I couldn't tell you. There's a lot of echo on it. I use the 12 string in my cover, but I don't know if that's right. Did they ever play a Fender 12? I don't think so. George Harrison owned one. And you can see it in the concert for George. I think that's a Fender 12, but the Beatles did not. Lots of nice comments. Thank you. Lots of nice comments. Thank you all for joining. Would I ever cover No Reply? I might. I think going back to Beatles for Sale stuff would be fun. I wouldn't in my own mind. I like to do this in a really kind of competitive, immersive way. So if I went back and did more Beatles for Sale stuff, it would be, I want to do the whole damn album. And to do that, I would need the Tennessean or a Tennessean equivalent. So if you guys donate $1,500, I could get a decent Gretsch Tenny. Don't give me money. I'll figure it out one day. What else we got? Looks like I got every request. Oh, Douglas Allen. I'm gonna humor Douglas. Douglas wanted to hear If I Needed Someone on the Rick, and you know what? I aim to please. Oh. Gives me a chance to play my favorite guitar. By the way, to refer back to a previous question, the 12 string also has a Rico sound input that I have never used. And I have no interest in using the Rico sound input because I have no idea what the hell it does. All right, so for any Beatles fan, If I Needed Someone was recorded in 1965 after George had been gifted a second Rickenbacker 12 string. It was a very different guitar. It had rounded horns, and somehow it sounded different. I don't know exactly how. You have to talk to some more gearheads, but I'll play If I Needed Someone. It's not going to sound exactly like the tone of the record, but I think I got the playing down. So here is If I Needed Someone. Here's a little trick. This is one of the things that benefits you guys watching this live stream. That last riff on the A transitioning to the D, a lot of people play it like this. Well, here's the thing, folks. Listen to the isolation and slow it down. He is not doing that. He is hitting that same chord the same way without any variation. I think our minds fill in the blank of that higher note, but it's not there. I guarantee it's not there. All right, so that was for you. I got my If I Needed Someone out of the bag. So Douglas Allen, I hope that made you smile. All righty. So I've done all these songs. I'm glad I got to all of them. A lot of good comments on the Rick 12. It is a beautiful guitar. I'm glad you guys believe so too. Do the Revolution riff on the 12 string. Is that the introduction? Or the like? I'll do both. Here, hold on. Jeez. Oh, that's a first. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, some casino requests. I may get back to that at some point, but I'm going to keep moving. Would I rather choose a Strat or a Casino for the mid Beatles kind of tones? The Casino. Yeah, definitely. The Casino is a much more versatile guitar, and there may be even some tones you can get on the Casino that mimic the sound of a Strat. Like um, the bridge pickup on any guitar sounds pretty much the same, and same goes for the neck pickup. And you can get some of that quacky second position Strat stuff by using the middle position of the Casino. So if I had to pick one, I'd pick the Casino. Could I do now and then on the Ricky? Sure. So we had Bernie Hamburger on our last interview episode of Gear There and Everywhere, and I got to play him the now and then rhythm guitar part on it when he had built the guitar, which was really cool. But I actually played it differently in my cover than it actually is on the record. I discovered I had been playing it a bit wrong. So I'll do it twice. This is the rhythm guitar part for the now and then verse. I played it a little bit differently, but that is how to do it. Great rhythm guitar part, and then George actually does continue to play it throughout the song. Beautiful rhythm guitar part. They definitely buried that in the mix. Back to the questions. All right, I've done the bass stuff. I did Hey Bulldog. Not very well, but I did Hey Bulldog. Mrs. Vanderbilt has a great, I think it's the Rick on the bridge pickup for the Rick bass on Mrs. Vanderbilt too, off of Band on the Run. So great point. Drighty. I think I'm reading that right. I think the Rick bass was on Cry Baby Cry, but I'm open-minded to the jazz bass. They're very similar when they're picked hard on the bridge pickup. Hey, Jaden dropping in from the UK. Our first clearly European commenter. Thank you, Jaden. Good to see you. All right. Thank you guys for the compliments on my playing. I'm definitely still warming up, so thank you for forgiving the little boo-boos. How do you personally prefer, or do you personally prefer, the feel or sound of the Rick or the Hofner when plucking around? The Rick. The Rick is a far more playable guitar, and the big reason is the Hofner is short scale, and the Rick is a full scale honkin' bass. And just like how the SG has a very long neck, and you can diddle up here on my live stream froze. Oh no. Okay, there we go. I froze for a second, guys, but I'm back. Come back, come back, come back. All right, my connection's a bit choppy, but I swear I can hear you and you can hear me. So I'm going to keep going. By the way, when I finish this live stream, I'm going to be able to download it in 4K and put it back out. I'm using this live stream to demonstrate Riverside, our new platform, which records locally from my computer. So what you see now, even though it's a bit choppy and pixelated, will come out in 4K when I put the actual chat out in its completion. So yeah. So anyway, the Rick bass is much more playable. You can do more stuff high on the neck, which is how Paul was able to play Rain up there. Rain wouldn't have been easy on the Rick. Some stuff in Here, There, and Everywhere. Paul plays some really interesting stuff high on the neck. You wouldn't be able to do that on the Rick. The Rick is small, it's light, and I believe if I had an actual, the Hofner is small and light. If I had an actual Hofner, I'm sure I would find that very playable. But I have the Contemporary series, which is not quite as good. All right, I'm halfway through the questions, but I'm going to scroll down to the bottom in case I missed any recent questions. Are we open to episode suggesting? Yes, we are. We are always looking for guitar mysteries. and instrument mysteries to explore 4 episodes. We are constantly brainstorming. Just to give you a sense for what's kind of next, we are currently editing the Rocky episode. Next, we have a couple interviews in the bag. We have Tom Hartman from the Aravons. We have Joe Kane, who's a Beatles one-man band and a very funny Scottish guy. We've interviewed Bernie Hamburger, who built George's guitars and met George several times. And then we're going to do our next song deep dive, which is Here, There, and Everywhere. There's a lot of more interesting details about that song than you might think. So we're going to do a deep dive of that next. But yeah, please, if you have any suggestions for our podcast, go to Facebook and ask to join the Gear There and Everywhere chat. It is a private group called Gear There and Everywhere chat. We will approve you. I get notifications on my phone. We all do when folks ask to join. We'll approve you right away. Make your suggestions there, because then we can see them and we won't, like, if you comment here, you can do so. But if you make a comment in the chat, we'll see it and we won't be able to lose it. Back to the bottom. Alfred, I have not yet been to New York City to see a John Lennon tribute, but I see the videos of folks playing Beatles songs. I'm of two minds about it. One, I love seeing it. I think it's great that folks still celebrate John Lennon by playing his songs. But number two, I can't turn off that part of my brain that says, that chord is incorrect. That riff is incorrect. So I'd be the guy there correcting everybody on how to play the songs. The least popular guy. George, yes, we should get Jew Odette, the YouTuber Jew Odette, on the show. He is nailing some of his Beatles covers. Okay, a lot of requests for It's All Too Much as an episode of our show. We have all talked about that. Once we figure out what guitar it might be, we will certainly do that. Can I play I'm Happy Just to Dance with You? I don't have the Rickenbacker. I could play it on the 12-string. Yeah, I can do. Yeah, I'll do the rhythm guitar part on the 12-string, which will sound whack, but I'll do it anyway. I love this guitar. This guitar is amazing. All right. Going back up to the questions. Any random and rare Beatle guitars interest you? Things like the Futurama White Album fretless or the Vox guitar organ thing. The only thing that may interest me of those options is the fretless guitar, because I think a lot of the great White Album guitar sounds are the fretless. I hear it on Birthday. I hear it on Helter Skelter. I hear it on Everybody's Got Something to Hide. I hear it on Back in the USSR. And no one can do an accurate cover of those songs without that correct guitar. So I am very interested in getting the original type of guitar that is fretless. I know that the Abley House guys, their channel, got their hands on a fretless, but I would like the original vintage one if it still exists. Yeah, I think that is the rarest Beatles guitar I would like to own, or at least borrow. Curious to know what you think of John's lead playing on Honey Pie. Seems like a lot of people hate it and others love it. I think John was a weirdly more versatile guitar player than we might think. I mock him constantly because I think he has one guitar solo. If you listen to the Chuck Berry song School Days, you will hear a very similar guitar solo that should ring a bell. It's like... Oh, I have to... Hold on, I have to put this on the amp. basically every John Lennon guitar solo you could ever hear. He does that on Long Tall Sally. He does it on You Can't Do That. It's the same exact solo. There's a version of Matchbox from the BBC sessions where John does the lead. It's the same damn solo. It's a great solo, but the dude didn't seem too versatile. But if you listen to like in the Get Back movie when he's doing that Third Man theme, I haven't learned that I can't do it, but he's got some surprising dexterity doing some random ass things. So yeah, I like the Honey Pie solo. It's fine. It fits an oddly goofy granny style Paul McCartney song. I love it. Kind of jazzy too. Whenever John went beyond that lead guitar solo, the one like, you got some very interesting results. I am a big fan. Is that a Russ Lease drumhead? That is a Russ Lease drumhead. That is Beatles drumhead number 6. And somewhere around here, I have the Love drumhead. I don't know where I put it. But yeah, I feel like these are collector's items now because Russ has gone out of business. Mr. Russ Lease no longer has a website. So I never knew that I was collecting these towards the end of his time putting out Beatles stuff. But it seems like he's done. I don't know. So yes, this is a Russ Lease hand-painted Beatles head. Am I related to Tony Hawk? No, I am more handsome than him, obviously. Anna Go To Him. Do I think it has overdubs? I think Baby It's You has a Celeste. Baby It's You has a Celeste overdub. Anna Go To Him? No, I don't think it does. Unless I'm blanking. No, I think it's just 2 J-160s and the bass. I could be wrong. I'll come back to it. Any idea which Hootenanny reissue I'll get? When they go below $1,000, I'll consider it. My catch with the Hootenanny is that I have already played all the songs I want to with the Hootenanny. The only one I haven't done is I'm a Loser, which I'm not convinced even was the Hootenanny because it's a very dark. The Hootenanny has a very dark 12-string sound. Am I going to finish my Beatles recreations in Don Smith's lifetime? He's getting old. So here's the thing, Don. During the pandemic, I had a hell of a lot of time to make Beatles albums and recreate them back to back. The pandemic is over. I am back to work. I do the best I can to release covers as often as I can. The big complication is, A, I'm getting married, and B, I'm editing our podcast. So my free time is taken up by those two major projects. The caveat being, once I buy a house with my fiance, we can put in a proper studio with proper lighting, proper green screens, proper recording equipment like the one I have, but everything in one place. And I intend to do a cover a week, a cover every 2 weeks. It'll be my little mental reset time. So in your lifetime, might want to continue your healthy habits and make sure you get a lot of exercise. But sure, I think you can bank on me continuing this project and hopefully finishing it by your lifetime's expiration. All right. What did George use for the cheer down slide parts? So if you look at the Japan concerts and the live footage, there is a red Strat George has set up for slide. There's a great video I've even taken a clip of for the Rocky episode of that live performance. And you can see that red guitar in the Real Love sessions. So I think he might be playing on the album on Rocky, but at least on those live shows, the cheer down was played on the red Strat. Yes, my doggy was in the background when I played Nowhere Man, and the harmonic made him laugh. Alrighty, comments about Rocky. Comments about Real Love. Alright, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. If anyone has any last questions, I'll stay a bit longer than 2 hours, but now's the time. Hit these up in the bottom. Ask all the questions you want, and I'll wrap up. I am going to put on my J-160. Ugh. Ugh. Okay, I got the Gibby J160 back on. It is plugged in if anyone wants to hear an electrified J160. Okay. Favorite vocal harmony? Great question. There is a buried harmony underneath the Real Love solo, where I believe it's just Paul and George. That is the best harmony the Beatles ever did. And someone put out an amazing new series of isolations for Real Love. And I promise I will discuss this in our Here, There, and Everywhere episode because I'll do a deep dive on Beatle harmonies. It's better than Because. I swear, you're going to hear it and think, wow, that is the greatest Beatle harmony performance. So Real Love during the solo underneath it. And if you go online now and search Real Love isolations, you'll find it. Just listen to the backup harmonies. Oh, I didn't know Apple went after Russ Lease. Wow. I hope Apple doesn't show up at my door and steal all my drum heads. That's a bummer. Favorite Beatle books. I have several favorite Beatle books. Number one is the Beatles Anthology. Any true Beatles fan needs a copy of the Beatles Anthology. It is written by the Beatles. It has insights from Paul, George, and Ringo after the Beatles broke up. It is funny. It is honest. It has a bunch of pictures you've never seen. And it's very funny. If you think about a book called The Beatles Anthology, you wouldn't think, oh, it's a laugher. But it's very, very funny. Beatles gear, obviously. Beatles recording sessions, obviously. Paul McCartney, the lyrics is fantastic, indispensable. So yeah, that's my top 4 Beatle books. Did Paul ever play bass with his fingers? He sure did, and I'm going to talk about that in the Here, There, and Everywhere video. He does play with his fingers live on Till There Was You, on Nowhere Man in 1966, and quite a bit in Wings on the Rick. So one of the points of contention I'll discuss for Here, There, and Everywhere is there are some interesting riffs Paul plays between the verses. The question is, did he play those riffs with his fingers or with a pick? So I will have some clear evidence either way. We're going to get really in the weeds of this nerdy side topic. But yes, Paul used his fingers. He was not very skilled with it, so he only played some simple, like... Nothing like James Jamerson or Jaco Pastorius. Can I play Not a Second Time? I don't know if I can remember those chords. I don't remember the chords. I know it starts on G and goes to E minor, but besides that, that's the best I can do. Ay. Are there any songs the Beatles covered where you prefer the original? I like You Just Don't Understand. There's a song called You Just Don't Understand that has, I think this is the riff. That's on a harmonica on the original, and a woman sings it. I don't remember her name. I very much prefer that version. I don't know why, because a 4-piece guitar group doesn't quite get the same feel of that version. I think that's it. Off the top, I think the Beatles covers are phenomenal. If you listen back to the Chuck Berry originals for like Roll Over Beethoven and Johnny Be Good, like the Beatles, man. Beatles are better. Alrighty. I'll stay for 15 more minutes, guys. I'm having fun. So 15 more minutes. Do you think there's any significant reason as to why the White Album and Abbey Road have so many songs with George and John on the bass instead of Paul? Oh, God, that's a great question. So there are a lot of publicly stated reasons for the Beatles breakup. Brian Epstein's death, Yoko, drugs. One of the underrated reasons is Paul McCartney's perfectionism. And there was some type of decision made after Pepper that, and this is speculation, but I think it's true, that all four Beatles would have to be involved in a track in some way. It could no longer be Paul on the piano with Ringo doing the drums on Fixing a Hole or whatever, and then 15 weeks of overdubs. They wanted to go back to some type of group cohesion, or at least initially they tried to. So an element of that was Paul was playing piano more and more. Hey Jude, Back in the USSR, obviously the Let It Be stuff. But that necessitated, if you wanted to involve everybody, having a bass player. And John tried. John certainly tried. He didn't try very well. I love John Lennon. I think he's a fantastic musician. Shitty bass player. I think we can all agree. So John played bass a bit. George was a much more competent bass player. Listen to Oh Darling. That's George. Listen to Golden Slumbers. That's George. He could play that bass six like nobody's business. So I think that's it. I think there was a decision when Paul became more confident in his piano playing and his lead guitar playing to have the other members switch up what they were doing. Ringo had to stay on the drums, but George and John could switch bass duties. And they didn't like it. I don't think it worked. I don't know what they could have done, but keep George and John on guitar and import someone else to play bass. Bring in Jack Bruce or something. They had Clapton on guitar. They had Billy Preston. Why not bring in an extra bass player? Oh, gosh. Did Paul play Lovely Rita with his fingers because his fingers were bleeding after recording the bass? I hear a very distinct attack on Lovely Rita's bass part that's very similar to other Pepper bass parts. You can only get it with a pick. So I very much doubt Paul played the Lovely Rita bass part with a pick. Sir Zayden, I don't have many big recommendations for a new casino owner. He's asking, how do you get a good tone, keep it in good condition? Lighter strings work for me. I think I have 10s on mine, and round wounds. Don't use flats on a casino. It kills it. And then play around with what you like, depending on what tone you like. It sounds good distorted. It sounds good clean. Mess with it. You know, everyone likes a different sound. I would recommend spending a bit more money to get a higher end casino. I've got my original Korean casino over here, which is good. This, inspired by John Lennon, is just worlds and worlds better. It's just 1,000% better. And it also was $1,500. I negotiated with the guy. And I think this is Paul McCartney's favorite guitar because it's so versatile. You can get a lot of great tones out of it. Let's see if I can play a demo. Yes, that was Anne Margaret, and I just don't understand. Thank you very much. Feschel. Yeah, the Casino's a great guitar. I can see why Paul likes it so much. Also, I love that like you can play all the help lead guitar parts much better on a Casino because it has the Bigsby. Paul had the Bigsby. Fancy schmancy. Do I agree with Sam's capo theory for Revolution? I don't really know what his theory is, but I do think if you listen to the outtakes on the White Album remix, their guitar sound is completely clean, and it sounds just like George and John on Casinos. It's like it sounds just like this, even cleaner than that. So this is not the Korean Casino. No, this is a inspired by John Lennon Casino that has been modified to add the Bigsby. Oh, this is so hard to do in reverse. Yep, so this is my Epiphone Casino, inspired by John Lennon. It is supposed to be the John Lennon spec, but it's got Gibson tuners, those Les Paul Gibson tuners, and it's got the amazing Bigsby. So it's closer to Paul's Casino or even George's than John's. But yeah, I don't think there's a capo on Revolution because you can hear even the like dive bomby stuff. You can do it with a Bigsby on a Casino without a capo. So I think what the commenter's referring to is like the really high stuff on the neck for Revolution. I know Dom Rossi thinks that's on the SG, which it could be, but I don't know about a capo. I don't think there's a capo. Yeah, The Night Before is another good lead guitar on the Casino. Was And Your Bird Can Sing played on the Casinos? Yes, and I'm going to show off a little bit if I can get it right and play both harmonies on And Your Bird Can Sing. Let's see if Mike can do it. I missed one note, and boy, am I not happy about it, but there you go. That's the Casino. Alrighty, let me see what else we got before we wrap up. Yes, I got this for $1,500. I think it would have been worth about $2,000. There are like 3 tiers of Casinos. Sam Popkin has currently the nicest. It's like the American USA version or whatever, like $3,000. There's the lower end, which is the Korean, or I think now it's Chinese Casino, which you can get for like $500. This is right in the middle. And I tell you what, I've told the story before, but I have owned the Korean Casino my entire life, and I thought it was a fantastic guitar. Can't get better. And then I played Perry Stanley's Casino and realized, ah, shit, that's a Casino. So I knew I had to get a new one, and this one, it is so much better. As I smack it into my microphone stand. Should Billy Preston have joined the Beatles during the Let It Be sessions like how George and John suggested? So the Beatles needed to evolve for all 4 members to stay interested in the band. The problem was all 4 of them wanted to evolve in different ways. Paul wanted to play more ballady, piano, rock opera stuff. George Martin encouraged that by wanting them to stitch songs together, take their music more seriously as orchestral pieces. John wanted avant-garde stuff. John wanted Yoko to be part of the band. He wanted to do a plastic Ono, band in a box on stage wearing a paper bag over you. No one else wanted that. George wanted to have like the band as part of the Beatles, to have Bob Dylan, to have a more kind of folk and country-esque feel to it, which no one else wanted. And Ringo wanted to be Ringo. So I think for them to have stuck together, they would have had to do their own side projects more and more often and then regroup every year or two to do a Beatles album. But I think part of their magic is that they knew when to leave the stage. I don't think we would have wanted to see a 1975 Beatles album or a 1982 Beatles album. I do also, in the back of my mind, if you listen to the AI created versions of like the Paul McCartney song New with John and George singing, or the Grow Old With Me AI with Paul singing the middle eight, that's good enough. We can engage the reunion stuff in our fantasies. Like that is, I cry when I hear that Grow Old With Me stuff. So I don't think anything could have kept the Beatles together at that point. And it's at least good that we got to see some reunion stuff. And we still have Paul and Ringo with us. Oh gosh. Weirdest question yet. What guitars were used for You Know My Name, Look Up the Number? You definitely hear guitars in the anthology mix. It's messing with me because no one remembers that song. I do remember the song, but I don't remember a guitar part. I remember the piano. I remember the drums. I don't remember the guitar. We do have pictures of that session, and I remember them because Paul is playing Ringo's floor tom with sticks and mallets, and I think Ringo's coat is draped over it as a mute, as like a tea towel. I don't know the guitars, though. I'll have to do more research. So that's a shitty answer to your question. I'm sorry. All right, guys, we're at 410. Any last words? Gonna put my guitar back. This has been phenomenal, by the way. I'm glad that the sound issue was fixed and you guys could hear all the guitars. It was nice to do a little walk around the block with all my guitars. And as I said, I'll try to make this a regular thing, maybe quarterly, once every quarter, maybe once every 3 weeks. This worked out pretty well too. And yeah, thank you guys for a terrific live stream. These 2 hours. London Town. I haven't heard London Town, Henry. I have not heard it, so I don't know. The only 80s or late 70s McCartney stuff I like are, what the hell's that song called? Wanderlust. I like Wanderlust. That's it. And I like the late 80s My Brave Face. That's good, but I don't know London Town. All right, all these questions trickling in. I will promise I'll answer these later. Again, please join our Gear There and Everywhere live chat, not live chat, Gear There and Everywhere chat Facebook group. We'll always be answering questions there. Follow me on my Instagram, Michael Sokil Music. Do it now. I will answer questions in my DMs all the time. And I love what I do, guys. One of the things that I've always noticed about these Beatles guys like me, sometimes they'll fall off the radar for a bit. They won't post a video. They won't have a event like this. And you'll think, oh no, they've moved on from the Beatles. They're done. They've evolved. No one moves on from the Beatles. Like, they always come back. We're always still obsessed with this. We're always going to do more. So I'm one of those guys too. I'll continue doing live streams. I'll keep doing the podcast. I'll collect more guitars, I'm sure, and hopefully get to a point where I can do some more engaging and detailed lessons on songs. But yeah, thank you all for joining. If you want to drop some more nice comments in the chat before I fully take off, I love praise. So I'll turn the camera off. Thank you all for coming. Happy Sunday, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.